Thank you. So today I'll be sharing some ideas and some experiences with how we collaborate while we're working together apart during the pandemic. So first, good morning, everybody. Well, actually, for you, I guess it's good afternoon. Now, one of the things that's very disconcerting about speaking at this conference or speaking in general now is, I said good afternoon and I didn't hear anything back because we're sitting here remotely trying to work together, and it can almost feel lonely even though we're working together. So in a sense, I don't know, is anybody out there? And you can ask questions in this team meeting with this Q&A, and I do appreciate getting questions along the way, so I will be watching questions. But before I start talking about remote collaboration, I'd like to try an experiment with you with a remote, let's say, remote presentation. So before we get started with the rest of the topic, would everybody please go to this URL on the top of my screen that you can see now? It says menti.com, and there is a code there, 3666226. And in this code, you can answer my first question, which is, so if your life has been anything like my own, then since in Norway it was since March, we've been everybody has been working from home. Everybody has been using home offices. Everybody has been trying to collaborate with each other while each being at home. And I am very much hoping that somebody will get, okay, and this is the first problem. I was not sharing my screen, and I'm still not sharing the correct screen. Excuse me, here, excuse me, still. So I would have to say, so here we go. Now, for those of you who can give me feedback, can you see my screen? And good, perfect. So now somebody can see my screen, and now I hope that those that are attending will have a chance to share your experiences. So working together, working apart when we're working remotely, it's I think initially, at least, it's a negative experience, and I'm hoping that some of you listening will give a chance to go to this URL, menti.com, code 3666226, and write a few words about what do you feel is the worst thing about working remotely. And Bala was kindly enough letting me know that I wasn't sharing the screen before, so now I'm sharing it, and now I get to see whether anyone is following along on this. So far, I'm not getting any responses, so we'll start. Okay, yes. I think number one, lonely, and this. I think that whoever wrote that probably might not have kids yet, because for those of us who are at home with small kids, lonely would at times be welcome. And that's the second feedback with distractions. You have everybody's working with their family life together. At least in my team, we're doing a lot of meetings together remotely. And sometimes you get the cats, you get the kids, you get the wife, you get the husband coming into the meeting, and or even disturbing the work. So it's different. It's boring. I think that it has at times been very monotonous. You're sitting, you're doing the same thing. You don't have the so there is a little bit of joy to going to the office, to getting out of the house, going somewhere, and just seeing other people for real. And I hope that more people will join in with these feedbacks as we go along. So the second question I'd also like your input on is, so what are the best things? What are some of the good things about working remotely? So I think that it started out being pretty, it started out with being pretty disruptive, pretty negative feeling with our lives being changed so much. And it's still a lot of negative aspects to it, but there are some good things about working remotely as well. And I'm hoping to get some of your ideas of what you feel are the best things, are the positives of working remotely. Let's see if we get any input here. I think for my part, I think the traffic is much better. I'm not stuck in traffic as much as I used to be. And I hope that that's something that others find positive as well. The commute is much, much simpler when I only have to go down the stairs to my basement office. Would anyone else want to? So the food is better. Well, at least it may be. It may be depending upon whether you're a good cook or not. And I have the food. I have a good food situation on my part, or at least I did when my wife was not working as much, but now we're all kind of stressed. I think for my own part, maybe the biggest advantage is that I get a chance to focus when I can. So it's often difficult to focus, but when I can focus, I don't have I don't have colleagues asking me questions that might not be relevant at the times when it's not convenient, which could be good, could be bad. I can listen to my own music. I can set up my work environment the way I want. Of course, that depends on your conditions as well. I'm lucky enough that we have a basement living room that isn't in use, that I can use, and so I think that for a lot of people, we actually are saving quite a bit of time by not having the commute, and and also for my own part with delivering kids to school, and a lot of things have been easier as well. And but work is more difficult when we're remotely. And again, I'd like your input on this. And for my own part, I see that if we have, so when we went into the lockdown, we had, in my team, we had a very well-defined task that we were working on. The team had a very specific goal with a deadline that was 1 month ahead. We had done quite a bit of good planning and team building and design around this activity before we went into lockdown, and we could do quite well on this first task. But as we delivered this task, it was harder to find the focus on the next task. It doesn't feel the same to find the task, to find the way that you're designing what you're doing, to find the way that you're cooperating. That didn't work as well when we went remotely. And in general, working as a group is quite a bit more difficult, and that goes both on the soft part and the hard part. There was a lot of value that we got out of working together as a group in in just the fact that we're having lunch together, we're having tea breaks together, we are meeting around the water cooler, maybe maybe I'm driving home with a colleague. So there's a lot of, and during those breaks, you get a lot of information that you exchange. So both to work together effectively and to see what others are doing is much harder when you are working remotely. Okay, let us go to this talk here. So I have another question for you, which is a little bit different from the previous ones. So in this talk, we'll go over a few different things. I've talked a little bit about the challenges of working remotely, and now I have prepared a few ideas about how do we do the teamwork as a group? How do we plan work, exchange information? How do we do that well as a team when we're remotely? And then I have prepared quite a bit about how to work on code together remotely. And during that code part, then what we will talk about is we'll, together with Mihisara, Mahindra, Pradeep, and Yasir, I will be demonstrating a distributed mob programming session in TypeScript. And in this session, I will you will have a chance to learn a little bit about TypeScript as well as a little bit about distributed pair programming or distributed mob programming in this sense. And just as a third option on these questions, maybe somebody is not here out of their own free will, but they're here because they were told to be here. So I'm having that as a option on these questions as well. So maybe somebody is not really wanting to be here. And I hope there is not too much of a delay on this so that you can see the numbers being updated as you're answering this. And I see that people are at least as interested in the TypeScript as they are in the distributed coding. So that means that we will spend quite a bit of the time actually demonstrating some cool features in TypeScript during the distributed coding part. And I will leave this these questions up so that you can continue answering, and I'll see what you answer. So the topic for today, we are now working apart. Everybody is in their own locations, and I think that as time goes along, we are coping with it. We're managing to work apart, but could we become good at it? I think that there is, so we don't know how long we will be in the situation. We don't know if we'll be in a similar situation in the future. So we might as well get good at working in a distributed way. And when we're doing it, let's try and have a way to enjoy the work in a distributed way, so we can work together. And for me, the coding part of the coding work is quite enjoyable, and coding together with people is quite enjoyable. So let's find ways to do that well as well. The first part of my advice is about how to do teamwork. So we are apart, but we're also together. So you and I, we are now sharing some kind of experience. We are, if this was a real conference, we would be together at a conference now. Does it feel like we're together, or does it feel like we're apart? At work, what we do at work every day is to do stand-up meetings, or the equivalent. They take longer than the classical stand-up meetings. This is my team, and this is our stand-up meeting this morning. What we do is we go alphabetically. So the person who's got the name first in the alphabet goes first on day 1 of the week on Mondays. The person whose name is second in the alphabet goes first on Tuesdays, and so on. And just like we used to with Agile projects and Scrum, we do what did I do yesterday, what am I planning on doing today, and what are my impediments. We do those remotely. But I think for many, the stand-up meetings never felt very comfortable. It is a bit of it can be boring and formal, and the stand-up meetings on a remote setting can be even more boring and formal. So it doesn't necessarily feel like we're together when we are meeting in these stand-up meetings either. We have done also remote retrospectives, and there are several tools for doing those retrospectives. This is from our previous retrospective. It says it's at miro.com, which we're using now. And there are similar services like Mural or Metro Retro that you can use to do a distributed retrospective. And those make us feel a little bit more together. And so I hope that people are doing things like distributed retrospectives. And I've blurred this one because it is actually what our team said on the retrospective, but you can just barely make out on the red note to the bottom right, it says Hanabi or Hanabi. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. And this is, I think, maybe one of my biggest tips on how we're doing remote teamwork. So with my team, every day we're going to Board Game Arena, which is one site. You can also use things like Among Us or other collaborative or other remote games. So we're playing basically a board game every day at the same time, and it's a chance to meet. And at this board game here, one of the players is one of my teammates, and the other player is one of our customers. So we were discussing oh, we just delivered this feature. Did the customer like it? And they say, and she would say, actually, when I tested it, I saw this problem, and I was like, oh, we forgot to test that. So maybe we should do that. And then after the daily game, we follow up on some of those things. And this, for us, has replaced conversation around the cup of tea or around the water cooler or around the lunch table. So we're doing something social every day. And as the months stretch along and we're still remote, doing remote fun together is extremely important as well. And when we're talking about remote fun, as I said, for me, working on code is one of the most fun parts of being a coder. And working together with others is even more fun, at least if I'm in the mood for it. And we are doing a lot of sessions where we're sharing somebody's editor, and 1 or 2 or even 3 people are joining in on a call, and we're discussing either it's just regular coding, so what are we doing now, or it's to solve a particular problem. Working together for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours while sharing a screen, working on code, switching who's got the screen, is actually a very productive way of both gaining back the focus that many of us lose being at home, because now you have somebody to collaborate with. It's a good way, as always, to find problems with your code early because you got a second pair of eyes helping you out. And it's a good way to share knowledge along the team because now somebody else is seeing the code. And it's also a good way to do training. So I will just check on the answers now. So For those that voted, it was pretty much even about distributed teamwork, coding together, and TypeScript. So this is where we're at. Nobody said that their boss told them to be here, so that's good. Or rather, that they were forced to be here. Okay, so when it comes to the distributed teamwork, I think I hope that most of you are doing something like a daily check-in where everybody gets to share what they're working on and what problems they might be having. I expect that some of you are doing something like a remote retrospective, which is a core feature of agile software development. I think that many of you are not doing anything like the social gaming that we're doing, and I think that's a great thing to try. We're setting aside half an hour per day to do gaming, and it's about having this togetherness. So Mark here has asked a question on the chat, and I think that this is a question not just for me, but for everybody. So what Mark asks on the Q&A for this talk is, how do you create some sort of togetherness and spirit for the team? And I think that having a meeting where everybody enjoys being there, but there's no set agenda, like a game, that is key to creating this sort of togetherness. And finally, it's about working together on code. And I think that many of you have maybe not realized that it doesn't take very much effort to call up a colleague and share your screen, or ask the colleague to share their screen and work together for quite a long time, and that it's actually quite productive. So I think that when it comes to something like this, it is then about having fun and sharing and working together. So for the rest of the session, I'm planning on demonstrating a pair programming session or mob programming session. We will be working on code on my GitHub account. You can just see the URL here. So you can find it if you go to github.com/Johannes. That's Johannes without a O. And it's probably the top repository right now in my history, because it's what we're working on now. So this is what we call distributed mob programming. If you haven't done mob programming before, the basic idea is that the whole team gathers around the keyboard and mouse and screen and work together on the code, with 1 or 2 people sitting by the keyboard and the rest coming with suggestions, paying attention, and just being part of the team as we program. So what it looks like is you have one developer will start with creating a new test that fails. And that developer will push the failing test to Git. And the next developer will then pull the code, which is now in a red state, run the test, see that it's still red, make the test green, write a new test, and push that test to GitHub or to Git. And there's an arrow missing because the third developer is then, of course, pulling the code, fixing the test, writing a new test, pushing the code, pulling, and then the next person is pulling the code, fixing the test. And in this case, after these 4 tests, we are done in this example, and we do a pull request. So because most of us are working with a continuous integration system, this works much better if you are working on a separate branch. After a little bit of demo, we will talk a little bit about why this might be useful. But I think that for now, I will just jump to the demos. So if I could invite Mihisara, Mahendra, Pradeep, and Yasir to maybe share your video as well, so that we have all of us here shared here. And I'm not quite sure how the experience will be for those watching, because now we have 5 video streams, and we will have a screen share in addition. So I hope that you guys can follow along. Hey everybody, how are you doing?
Hello.
Hi, Johannes.
Hi.
All right, so just a brief introduction to everybody. I guess that Mihisara, Mahindra, Pradeep, and Yasir are some of the great people working at Tikri. We have met online once before to try and go through this, but other than that, we don't know each other particularly well. So are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So can you see my screen being shared?
Yeah, we can see.
Great.
Yes.
So what we will be working on is a small kata or exercise that I have created for TypeScript, which shows the power of the programming language. And in this example, what we'll do is we'll have messages. Maybe the server sends a message and you want to format them in whatever language the user has chosen. And it might be just a message that has a fixed string, something went wrong. Here is the Norwegian equivalent, noe gikk galt. And for the rest of the team, I guess they will have to copy and paste these Norwegian text. It might be a message that has a argument, like the server returned an error with this being the error, or it might be a message that has several arguments. And we'll have something that tries to show a message in Norwegian with a legal argument. And then we will use TypeScript's type powers to have this being displayed well. I have pre-created the project. Here we go, and I currently have 2 tests, and they're not doing anything. So should I write the first test to get going, or does anyone else want to do it? Nobody's raising their hand, so I think I'll do the first test, and then I think we will do it alphabetically. Then Mahindra, then Mihisara, then Pradeep, and then Yasir. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Then we have a way of sequencing. Know who's next. So I prepared a few examples here, but we can delete the second one. So I will say it shows a message in English. And I will say that we expect that show message, and then I said English. So the show message, and we called this message error is, let's say, general error. So that's the error code, and we want it to be something went wrong. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let me make the code just compile. So we have, I'm missing the method show message, which takes a language as the first argument. And that's, for now, it's whatever, or I can probably do this and then the message. Then let's see, does that compile? Well, it's missing this constant English. And now it compiles, gives me a couple of warnings because it doesn't like the fact that I haven't specified the types here. and it doesn't like the fact that the function is empty, but what it says is that it expected something went wrong as the error message, but it gets undefined. And now before I commit this so that our build doesn't break, I should check out the new branch. So I'm now on this new branch. I will say messages show us a message in English. Spelling. All right, so I'll push this. Yep, push this branch, and then I guess it's Mahindra. Okay. Oh. Git push origin dev day. All right, so we have. I am not sure exactly what it complains about. I'm just going to force push.
I think the branch is the dev day. So we have to better commit other name.
Ah, right. Okay. So I guess I can branch on my branch, give dev day demo. Let's see. Yes. The danger of practicing something is that you might destroy what you're working on. Okay. So Mahindra, have you cloned the repository?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Great. So then we share the code through our Git repository, and then we share the collaboration through Teams. And great. So here's Mahindra's code. So have you checked? Yeah. So
Yeah.
now the one of the things that is probably the most distracting or most difficult is I think maybe did you pull?
Yes, I clicked.
Ah, right.
Let me see the page.
You have to fetch.
So one of the things that that's the most, it's the top one, most difficult when you're working together, especially in a performance setting like this one, is that it's very tempting to try and help people when they don't need help. But I think you could probably just do git checkout origin / dev day demo. I think. Yeah, that's this should be origin / dev day demo. Actually, it's a little bit difficult, different. I'm sorry. So I'll share with you the exact command in the chat. It's git checkout minus t origin / devday -demo. So you should have it in the chat now. I think some of the biggest wins we've had with okay, that was weird.
Yes. I can see it in the GitHub as well. See this one.
Try and do git fetch origin. One thing that I think always is surprising is thank you. Okay, so right, and now you have my code here, and I guess the first thing is to check that the code is failing, that the test is failing on your machine. So you can run the test from the, so just run the test npm test. And test, there's a bit of lag, I think. So,
it's failing.
Great. So when we're doing test-driven development, especially when we're doing it as a practice, what you want to do is you just want to hard code the response so that we get the test to pass as quickly as possible. And in this case here, I think that your types, it might be that you, what's a common feeling is that, especially when somebody is watching your program, it's hard to feel as smart as you normally do. So if anyone feels that things are being a little bit clumsy, it's because it's a little bit harder when we're being watched here. So does the test pass now, Mahindra?
It should not, because the return type should be string, right?
Yeah, but that's implicit, so that's okay. So in TypeScript, we don't need to put return types and types on everything. But we do need to say that the language and message, that they are any. So it doesn't have to. It doesn't need to say the return type on the string, because it can infer that, because it is hard coded as a string. And then I think our test is going to be green. This is interesting. Yay! All right. Let's try a high five remotely. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're trying to do a simultaneous single clap with the time lag. That's impossible, but it's worth the try. Okay, so what would you like to do now, Mahindra? Would you like to do any refactoring, or would you like to just go for the next next test?
Let's do some refactoring, right?
Yeah, I think that maybe we should want the message to, maybe we want to have an interface for the message type. That's the second argument to show message. So should we call that, message is great. And it has just one property called error, which could be a string. And then on line 4, we can replace the second any with message. And one thing that we're always aiming for when using TypeScript is to go from using the any type to go using more specific type. So this is a good improvement. Check that the test is still okay. Do you want to see what ESLint says? So if you were to do npm run lint, I think it has the linter installed there already. Yeah, so it still passes. It's great.
Thank you, errors.
It did give us quite a bit of warnings here. A lot of them are having to do with the format, I think. So how about you first do npm run format? So we're using Prettier here, which is for both JavaScript and TypeScript. It's a way to enforce a coding style. And Prettier doesn't give you warnings, it just fixes your code. All right, so at this point in time, we say language is defined but never used, message is defined but never used, and unexpected any. So those are those I think are messages that we can understand. Should we write in the next test? So then Mihisara can make it pass. Which test would you like to write?
Yeah, checking for this parameter.
Okay, so we want to do another parameter?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want one with arguments as well?
Yeah, it's better, right?
Yeah, it could be cool. So something like server error, the server returned an error. Wow. 2 parameters. That's more than one. Let's go for it. Great. And as we go along, we have the questions and answers on the talk open. So there is a possibility for the audience both to ask questions about how we're working together, why we're working together the way we are, and about things having to do with TypeScript. So the error should be server error, I think we said. No, you wanted the other one, the illegal argument.
No, I just wanted to check this on the passing thing.
Yeah, sure. So, yep, server error is great.
What should we do?
So you have server error as the error, and then you can have another property on this error object called error message. And then so another property on the error message and that can be whatever you want it to be. Does anyone see the syntax error?
There should be a colon without
Yep.
equal.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess that you guys don't have the same problem as me. I have to turn up the heat here. It's getting to be winter in Norway. I wish I could be there in Sri Lanka in person. It's getting pretty cold here. All right, so just put in whatever message you want, like no database connection or whatever in this error message. And then we can do the to be. I think you should be after the next parentheses. And that should be something like the server returned an error colon no database connection. Yeah, perfect. All right, so let's see what kind of error we get when running this. Yeah, that matches. So what happens with when we run the test?
They haven't saved the file.
Oh yeah. So that's why it passes. That's a good thing that we didn't push the code yet, because then Mihisara would wonder why it didn't fail on his side. Good, and now it has a compilation error. Let's just pass it to Mihisara and go on. So just commit and push. So message with 2 parameters. Yeah. I have practiced this with my class at a local college here in Oslo, and the commit comments start out pretty bad, and then as we practice it more, it goes better. All right, so I think the push has gone through, and let's see, it's not there yet. Let's just make sure. All right, that looks like we got it through, right? It's not. Actually, it doesn't. It hasn't come up on the. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong branch.
Yeah,
yep.
it's gone.
Oh, it's there. Okay, so Mihisara, you can share your screen.
Hello, can you
Yep,
see my
I see your screen.
Okay,
perfect.
I'm in dev demo branch. Let me
just push pull. The triple dot on the top left-hand side, you have the source control panel, triple dot, and pull push. There you go. So yeah. I find that also working with pair programming and mob programming is a great way to learn how to work together. So, and now we're
should have something called error message.
That's right. And this is a little bit of a challenge because we have an interface that should be treated differently in the different situations. So if you make this work, then you can see the other one is failing. And in this situation, you can do error message question mark string just to get it to pass.
Okay.
And then we expect now that it should run and it should fail because it doesn't handle this as a case properly.
Let us save the file.
So while we're working here, you don't have to think about that, Mihisara, but for the rest of you, are you guys using tests a lot when you're programming these days, or not? What do you think, Yasir?
Yeah, the TypeScript actually I haven't wrote itself, so we're doing the .NET integration test, so I haven't participated in the TypeScript test cases.
Yeah, so the second one failed, so I put a condition here.
Yep. So that would be checking. That's the message, not the language. That's server error on line 22. Right. Or you can use the other one, yeah. And you can just return the, yeah, else, sure. So we deal with the two cases, and it's a little bit convenient now to just copy and paste the code error. And when we're doing test-driven development like this, it's often a good thing to just copy and paste to get the test to pass as quickly as possible, and then make the improvements afterwards. So so that would be .error message. Error message, and it doesn't detect it properly, I think, and that might be that it doesn't realize that. Oh, okay. So on line 7 and 8, you have to say message.error in both of those cases. So on line 7, the reason that it's giving this error here, it's kind of interesting. It's because TypeScript realizes that that this could never be true, that the message could never be a string, which was what you asked it. So then it knew that you could never come there, and that's why it gave you the error. If you save it now, I think that that would pass your test. And here we got some reformatting on save. That's nice, so that we don't have to think about whether we code the same way or not. All right, what happens if you run the test? Oh, you're typing the npm command in the editor. And I think it has, if you check, there is like a squiggly on line 28, which tells you that something is wrong. I think you can hover over it, and you can see there's a space missing. Perfect. Try and save it. And now we're running this, I think, both in the editor and on the command line as we go along. So let's we'll see which one is faster. It does look like the test passed. So let's see it pass. High five. 1, 2, 3. Great work. All right. Shall we proceed without any further refactoring, or do you want to do a refactoring here?
Yeah, let's do a refactoring.
So what's an interesting thing, if you go up and look at the type definition at the top, the string on line 2, it can only have 2 values. It can only be general error, or it can be server error. So you can replace the word string on line 2 with these 2 alternative strings. So quote general error and or quote server error. So you can find them on line 7 and 9. And this is a pretty unique situation in TypeScript, that you can actually, it's a single, you can actually define a type as a subset of possible strings. So that's kind of an interesting change. Would you like to do any other refactorings, or is that enough for now?
Yeah, that's enough for now.
Should we? So what's the next test? What do you think?
Write another failing test.
Yep. You want to write one for another argument or for another language?
For another language.
Sounds good.
Just take a copy of this one.
Perfect. Good thinking. So you can say, yeah, it's in the README.
Yeah.
It's on line 6. Noe gikk galt. That's I guess here you need either me or my notes in order to get this to work. Okay. So on line 31, it's
no
yeah. Yeah. And on line 31 as well. And then we need Norwegian to be defined as an object, and it can be defined the same way as English, just above there. It's kind of an interesting observation there. Let's just see. I think it runs now, so let's just commit and push it and see if Pradeep has the time to do something with it. We might not be able to get around to Yasir with the time available, so we'll see. And shows a message in a Norwegian, you could write that. Interesting comment. Cool. Okay, push. And yeah, so just while we're waiting for the push to go through, Mihisara, did you? So yeah, so that's cool. I think it's ready for you, Pradeep, so you can share your screen. So I think that Mihisara did more copy pasting while coding than Mahindra. Do you usually do that, Mihisara, or was it because of the performance situation?
It's because I practice that a lot. Yeah, I do a lot of copy pasting.
But it's an interesting technique because very often it can avoid a lot of typos, like silly errors, because you then know that at least you're spelling Norwegian the right way both places. You don't spend a lot of time doing having some errors. So I think with when you're practicing a little bit, then it's a great technique as well. So it's actually, I think it's a nice way of doing it. All right, Pradeep. Do you know where to go?
Yes. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, your screen is shared, your test is failing, and for now, I guess we just need to deal with the general error situation.
Yes.
So let's read it out of the language. So if we move general error into English and Norwegian, these objects.
I think that we just need to create an interface for this.
Yeah, but you don't have to do it right away, actually. Since it's an any, you can start by making the test pass, and then we can create the interface.
Okay, so
online. So yeah, where do you want to start? You can do the interface if you like.
okay, so
Oh, where did my screen go? There we go. Ah, so you're doing both at the same time. So what we're doing now is we're saying that Norwegian and English have a common type, that is that they're having different strings. So
yes.
the colon is before, yeah. And then we can move the messages into there. You have it on line 8. And then you have this on line 10. Server error. I'm not sure what. Oh, you missed a comma. That's why it doesn't show up. And so what's an interesting feature here with TypeScript is that we can define something like a language as a type, and then this would actually, if we want to define another language, let's say German or a Sinhala, we would need a Sinhala object, and if we had forgotten to define some of the messages for that, then we would actually get a compilation error from TypeScript, which is quite a nice way of doing it. And you can use the same text as in the English version here, just for now. So you have on yeah, so the Norwegian text is just, it's in the parentheses. Yeah, that's fine too. Okay, so now you just need to use this on line 8 and 10. Or yeah, that's even better.
So for this general error, so I just replaced the hard-coded values. So
Yep. And now we get compilation completion there as well. That would be language.server. And you will get completion for pretty much everything you need. So in the parentheses there, you can do a message dot, and then you'll get the completion. And just do an exclamation mark for now. So do error message to server. So just on line 10, do an exclamation mark after error message, because you need it to be. So keep the question mark there, and then exclamation mark here. As an exclamation mark instead of the question mark. Exclamation mark. So that's shift 1. And that's a feature that I don't. So that tells TypeScript, oh, do you think that this property is not set? But I know it's set, so I'm so I know it's there. And if you run the test now, I think it should pass. And I think we will. So there's. Bala, is it correct that there's 7 minutes left of the session? So That's really good. You can commit and push. So we have 7 minutes left of the session. If there's questions, I'd like to take those questions now. If not, if there's not any questions, then we will do a little bit of a wrap up, I think. So just so we have a good finish of this. And Yasir, unfortunately, that means that we will have to pick this up with you later. But you can feel free to work on the code while we are doing the wrap up, and then maybe we have something to show afterwards. How's that? All right, so I will share my screen again a little bit now, and let's go to then maybe the most important question when you're looking at something like this. So I used this this Mentimeter earlier, so we're here, and now you've seen Mahindra, Mihisara, and Pradeep pair programming together with me, and we've worked through some problems. We have shared the code, pushed, pulled, and if anyone would like on the menti.com to share what benefits do you think that you could see from working together like this, as opposed to sitting and working solo. If anyone would like to share that, I'll keep this up. Now, maybe since you're still visible with me, Pradeep, would you like to share what do you think are the benefits of working with pair programming and mob programming like this? So, have you felt it has been helpful?
Definitely. So overall, the session was good, very insightful to us, and it's also a good opportunity to interact with you and learn new concept in TypeScript. So
I think that in a teaching situation, like where I had TypeScript to bring to the table as something I know, it's a pretty fun way to teach. It can be challenging when you're teaching because teaching is always challenging, but it's really fun to try and guide you guys through problem solving as well. How does it feel sort of as a way of working as opposed to sitting by yourself and working? What do you think, Freddie?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Yeah. So as opposed to working by yourself, how does it feel to work together in a mob like this?
So overall, we usually get the opportunity to communicate with the team members, and so we can share our knowledge with each person. So like if you work alone, like if you work alone, you definitely not get that kind of benefit. So overall, when you are working with the team, so definitely you will get some benefit from them. So
yeah. So it's a good way to share knowledge with the whole team. So I can see that Yasir, that you're also on the video. Would you like to share your experience from now or the practice session? You're muted.
Sorry. The practice session, like when we are doing the alone, so we do the what we know the solution, like. So if we do the teamwork, so my input as well, the team input as well will come. So we can come up good solution for the problem. So it will improve the code wise, and if there are any mistaken, they will let us know. So that thing will be have a pair programming lesson. So that's and the new things we can learn from the others itself. So that's I learned from this pair session.
Yeah, so it's also a good way to find the to find mistakes that you do. How do you feel? For me, sometimes sometimes I've had a lot of working alone at home, which can be a bit lonely. How do you feel about the social aspect of this way of working?
Yeah, the only thing is still there, but if you have a physical, like if you work in the office, like it will collaborating some chatting with others. So, but not that thing is not in here working alone, but it's like a 50-50. But if you have a work alone, without the home premises, there will be we can work from the home stuff itself, other stuff. So that will be have another advantage as well. So if you any go to somewhere and we can come also work another time. So something like there's a 50-50 opportunity I'm working from home and lonely working.
Yeah. Let's see. We have. I think that there's not any input from the Mentimeter here, so I haven't seen any comments from the audience on what benefits they would see from pairing. We do have one question, which is, will TDD lead to having many flaking tests in the long run, which may make people stop doing it? And I think that when it comes to doing testing, it is very important to realize that just as we care about the quality of our code, that our code is pleasant to work with, our tests also need to have care and attention. So if we don't maintain our test as part of the code, then the test can be then the test can be a hindrance instead of a help. And so I think very often if you are not having benefit from your test, you're probably not investing enough in the tests as it is. All right, so I'd like to give a big thanks to Mahindra, Pradeep, Mihisara, and Yasir for helping me out with this demo. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you in the audience would like to practice something like remote mob programming, then it is not particularly difficult. So the screen sharing, I hope that everybody is comfortable with screen sharing and working together on a screen these days. You saw we were struggling a little bit with GitHub ourselves probably because of the performance aspect of it. We forgot to do a git fetch, but it's a tool that everybody knows, and sharing code through GitHub as you're doing remote collaboration is a pretty well working way to do it. And thirdly, when you are working, you always feel that you're going slower on the keyboard when you're sitting there than you should, and you always feel that you're a little bit impatient with what the other person might be doing. So it is important to remember that it's that we are trying to work through this together, that we're trying to help each other grow and get stronger, and to help each other as much as we can as we go along. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention. We have been in a situation in 2020 where we've been forced apart to work separately. And when we are forced apart, we might as well get good at distributed collaboration. If you want to look at the GitHub repository, you can see this example of code that we were doing now, with the steps that we were going through, and each of the commits is visible on our branch. If you'd like to learn more about this, or if you have any questions, I do welcome both emails and feel free to follow me on Twitter at Johannes. So I hope everybody enjoyed it, and thank you all for your attention.